Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Albrecht. I'm a fourth grade teacher in Brockport, New York. I teach at the Fred W. Hill School. This has been an unusual year. Going back 14 months, it was March of 2020. We had been hearing about a disease that was coming into our country. I think I first heard about it going into Washington State. And at the time, we didn't realize how strong of a problem it would be. By March, it was becoming evident that we were going to have to deal with this disease coming to Rochester, New York. And I know the first cases came to Monroe County, where I live, in March of that year. On March 13th, we were supposed to have a superintendent's conference day, and it was supposed to be on wellness, and that's a very ironic thing. The superintendent's conference day was changed overnight to become a technology forum in which we'd have to learn Microsoft Teams. And for a guy that pretty much communicates by smoke signals and really doesn't care all that much about technology as a teacher, I build my classroom around communication and personal contact. Technology was very foreign to me. It did set a little bit of a concern on how am I going to teach these kids. So the time period from March 15th, school was canceled, so that Monday. By Wednesday, we were handing out laptops. Our school, every child has a laptop, and we gave out their laptops. And by the next Monday, we were teaching remotely. And I had to figure out how to get everybody online. So first I communicated through parent emails, and then I had to communicate to my students directly. The challenge was to understand that parents themselves might have 3 or 4 kids at home, and their lives were turned upside down too, balancing work schedules and childcare. So I had to be very, very conscious over the past year about communicating well with my families. The pandemic itself was just a changing of teaching methods. And even as we came back in the fall and we were in a hybrid model and half the kids were coming one day and half the other day, that was really a small piece of the puzzle. The bigger piece of the pandemic that existed over the past year was the importance of being able to communicate with families and students to make things very clear to them and to make it easier. Because imagine this, what if you're a parent and you have a 2nd grader, a 4th grader, a 7th grader, and a student in high school? They all have different teachers and each teacher has a different expectation. You want to keep it as simple as possible in that situation, because that parent right there is going to be your team partner and a very important part of that child's education. If you lose that parent right there, you've lost a major advocate in that house where that child's learning remotely. And then you're lost at the point that you're dealing with or working with or trying to teach that child. And that's very hard when you're working with 8-year-olds. So the lesson learned over the past year is the value of communication. Fortunately, I've always taken pride in communicating with my parents. So this past year really wasn't as hard as I would say a lot of people think it was. My biggest question is what's going to happen in the upcoming year. As we started going from hybrid back to fully in person, which we started just a week ago, we started bringing big kids back 4 days a week. Wednesdays, which is the day we're recording today, we have a little bit of time to get things prepared. There's a deeper cleaning in our school done, a lot of little extra stuff. And then there are students that are still fully remote, that their parents aren't ready to send them back to school. So we're working with those students too. And we're also teaching remotely on Wednesday mornings. But as we go back to school and we look towards September and the fall of the next school year, the thoughts that I have in mind are actually more intriguing than what happened in this past year. I've seen more people walking. We have the Erie Canal that goes through our town in Brockport, New York, and I see more people walking on the canal now with their family, doing simpler things, taking lives and bringing it down to a point of simplicity where they're spending more time as a family. It's a beautiful thing to see. So my biggest question is, as we head past this pandemic, what is our world going to look like? The biggest obvious thing would be the question, are we going to still be wearing masks? And I think that might be something that is there to stay, especially during cold and flu season, because an interesting phenomenon happened this year. Other than a pandemic, we had no cold and flu season at our school for the first time. Interesting thing learned. But will the idea of we spend more time and quality time with our family, we take out board games, we do things like that, will those things be institutionalized as common practice? I urge you, if you're watching this video, take some time and reflect on this past year, because I think the upcoming years and what we learn are going to hold silver linings. And if we grasp those silver linings, we're going to make it a much better world for ourselves, our family, our communities, and our schools.